Hey there, I have a question for you. Have you ever used these solder stick things before? I have not, but basically I saw these on probably Instagram or something, and they seemed like a pretty good idea. There's a little ring of solder in the center and shrink wrap on the other outsides. So you basically twist your wires together, slide this thing over the twisted part, use your heat gun to melt the solder and shrink this stuff down right around it to seal it up good. So I'm going to give this a try on my tank watch system, because I think I mentioned before everything was working fine with that thing, but when I was in here putting in the stern thruster control, I had to take the floor that you're sitting on right now out, and I've cut out a gap in the floor here to fit around this thing, but I seem to have broken the connection for the freshwater tank. So everything's working on the tank watch thing, except I'm not getting any indication out of the freshwater. This is the only place that I've been touching the wiring on it. So a thinking man would think that I've broken a connection in here. So I'm going to redo my connectors for my freshwater tank and use these solder sticks and see how that works. So I'm going to do that, and you can watch. Well, on Instagram, the solder just melts right off the bat and flows all around the copper wire, and I don't really see any change to the way this looks right now. To me, doesn't really look like it did that. However, maybe it did. I don't know. All right, well, again, have you guys used these things? It seems like when they're showing you the video on Instagram or on their website or whatever, that you do the heat gun there and poof, all that solder just immediately melts and flows nice around the wires and makes a good soldered contact. I didn't seem to get that. So I'm going to go, with the set, they send you this little card that says, oh, scan this before you do anything. So maybe I better go scan that and see how long, if it tells us how long I'm supposed to keep the heat on that solder to get it to flow like it does in the videos. All right, well, the only way to tell if I really got scammed with this box of these solder stick things is to do a little testing. I know I should have tested before I used them, but I'm going to now, so that's something, right? All right, so I have just stripped down a piece of this wire here and just kind of twisted the two ends together into the, you know how the wire is kind of twisted inside of the insulation. Well, I just kind of twisted it together there, and I'm gonna see, I brought two pieces of wire because I'm gonna try this twice. I'm gonna see if maybe it's just this heat gun that I got. I accidentally ordered this when I ordered this stuff. I didn't want to order this because I've already got a heat gun, but I did, so Anyway, we're going to try that one first, see how it goes, and then we'll try my bigger Wagner gun. I don't know how they relate in terms of heat, but let's just see what happens with this one first. So. Alright, well, I am less than convinced that that solder has changed shape at all. The heat shrink tubing has shrunk, but yeah, I did not solder that son of a gun. Alright, well that seemed to work a little better. I can actually see here some of the solder has moved around in there. I don't know how well the camera will get it, but maybe it was just a heat problem. Didn't have enough heat with this little gun they sent me. So I'm going to run back in, put a little more heat on the ones that I just did on the tank watch thing, and see if we make sure we get a good connection there. So I could probably still pull this apart. But yeah, you can see now that solder's softer and it's coming apart in chunks. So some of it did in fact melt around our wiring to some degree. So we got a decent connection there. This is still kind of concerning, but there's melted solder on those wires for sure. So I'll go out on a limb here and say that these solder stick things work, but boy, you sure got to put the heat to that solder in there, which is no surprise. I mean, it takes a little bit to melt solder anyway. So if you're gonna buy these, for sure make sure you don't have this stupid thing in your shopping cart, which I accidentally had clicked on and didn't realize I'd ordered it when I ordered the solder stick stuff from their website. So I did not intend to order this gun. It's a 300 watt gun, and my gun from Wagner here is a 1200 watt. So that's the difference in heat. 4 times the heat out of this Wagner gun is kind of what seemed to do the trick. So I'm going to go back in there and give those another whirl, make sure I've got this stuff melted good, and then move on to the next job. Well, good morning from the Burr Trail in southern Utah, down around Boulder, Utah. If you want to look it up on the map, look for Boulder. And at Boulder, the highway makes a little bend, and if you go west, you go over to Escalante. If you go east, you turn off onto the Burr Trail. And this is what it looks like down here. Isn't this marvelous? Obviously, you figured out I have not headed back up to Washington. I think I told you I had to come down to do some dog sitting for the kids while they went to Mexico. And I've got that all done. It went just fine. They had a great time. And now it's a little nasty up in the Pacific Northwest. There's a meteorologist that I've been watching on YouTube, and I was watching him on Monday or Tuesday of this week, and he said that the jet stream up there, you know, at like 35,000 feet was coming in at 200 miles an hour off of a low pressure or high pressure or something. Anyway, I don't know what kind of pressure it was, but it was a 200 mile an hour jet stream up high, which by the time I got down to the ground was about 50 mile an hour winds with some stronger gusts, and it was bringing in some more moisture. So he was warning that like the passes, Snoqualmie and the pass by Pendleton and Oregon and all that would be potentially 80-mile-an-hour winds and snow blowing. And I don't know about you, but I just doesn't sound all that pleasant anymore. I've driven across Wyoming in blizzards a dozen times, and I've kind of lost the thrill of it. It's not that great. So I decided, you know what? I don't have to go back up there. I got work to do on that boat, but I don't have a boss looking over my shoulder going, when are you going to get that work done? So I decided to load up the Tacoma, which is where you're sitting. You're in the back of it right now, and come down here and do some camping and drink some coffee out where it's sunny and warm. I do have my jacket on, but I just have a t-shirt under that, and probably will be down to just the t-shirt here in a little bit. So, yeah, the Burr Trail. I'm going to show you a little bit of it today. It's a wonderful place. I mean, if you've never been here and you come to Utah, and you know, people come and they see Zions and Bryce Canyon and the Grand Canyon, which is not in Utah, but you know what I mean. They do the big name brand national parks. And you've heard me say before that I think Capitol Reef is kind of the unsung hero of the national park system, that not as many people come here because it's kind of off the beaten track a little bit. However, that said, you can make a circle around it. You can take the highway from Torrey, and you can go over to a road down to what's called Naughton, Notton. So there's the Naughton Highway, the old Naughton Highway, and that goes down and turns into dirt eventually. My favorite kind of road. And then that can you can continue on that and go clear down to Bullfrog at Lake Powell, or it splits off at one point. And if you take that split, then you come up the Escalante or the Burr Trail switchbacks, which are awesome. I'll show them to you. And then you make the rest of the passage through the Burr Trail, and then you can kind of come out at Boulder and turn and go up over the mountains back to Torrey. So you can do a loop, and you can do the Burr Trail you could do it in a Subaru. I've done it even, I think, in the little Porsche Macan that I have. Anything that can kind of go on, a dirt road. It's not a tough road. So you could do it in just about anything. I just wouldn't recommend doing it in a car, but you can do it in a little SUV or something. And I tell everybody about it. Everybody, like I got a friend who comes out from Pennsylvania, and I'm like, man, we got to get you to do the Burr Trail, because there's a section of it that we're going to go through here after we leave this camp spot today, where you're going down this little canyon that the creek carved through the sandstone, and it's probably 800-foot tall cliffs on either side of just this, the red rock that this country's so famous for. So it's a beautiful drive. It just is. And I do it whenever I get the chance, or whenever I need to get down here and, kind of get away from civilization. So I will tell you that you've got no cell service when you get down here, which is one of the reasons I come here. I find that the world that is not covered by cell coverage is getting smaller and smaller. It's harder and harder to find the places you can go and truly disconnect. But this is one of them for the time being. And, lately with this crazy guy we got running the place, you do need to disconnect once in a while, or you can just go crazy with what we're doing. So anyway, I've tried really hard to stay away from the politics, man, but I might have to stray a little into that realm. But not right now. Right now, there's coffee to drink. I think I got some blueberry muffins in the front there. I'm going to go have one of those. And I'll catch up with you once I've broken camp. I will break camp here in a little bit and get on the road. Before I do, maybe I'll show you quick my setup here. Works pretty well for one guy. Actually, me and Gray camp out of this thing all the time, so I won't say one guy, I'll say two. But yeah, let me just give you a quick little tour of the Tacoma. All right, so this is the Tacoma. Basically, it's a 2017 Tacoma 4-door. I got a winch in the front. I have dual batteries under the hood there so that I can run accessories in the back off the second battery. I've got this, I think it's made by a company called Prinsu, this rooftop rack up here, and then I have a couple of these kind of medium-sized boxes, and these are pretty handy. They'll take up to a long folding chair. So on the other side, I have the folding chairs, but on this side, I got the thing with a couple of inserts up there and pockets and so forth. So I got a first aid kit and I got all that kind of stuff. But then mostly what I have on this side is all my extra recovery gear to go with the winch and stuff. So I got like a tree loop and a snatch strap and so forth. And then we've got our rooftop tent up here. I've still got that open. I've got the iCamper, I think it was the iCamper Mini 2. At this point, I started out with a Gordy Gear aluminum one. That was a good tent. I gave that to Dylan and Sam, and he had it on his 4Runner, or has it on his 4Runner, so we can go car camping together. And then back here in the bed, I've wired up that second battery to a little panel down in here on the side, so I can have my fridge always powered up off its own battery. And then I built this little unit here, which is my kitchen, and this thing all fits down. I just take the propane bottle off the stove here and set the dishes down in this compartment, close the stove, slides right in, the kitchen goes away in like a minute, and more importantly comes back out in a minute. At one point I did have a 3-gallon water jug, water box. I still have it, but there's a section up in front of the fridge that isn't this drawer, so it was kind of like a wasted space there, even though, because I built the whole thing at the same level, so if I needed to, so I had a flat surface in there. But I do have room to put that water tank back in there, and at one point I had that wired or plumbed so I could fill it back here and discharge it back here with a little pump, like a boat water pump. It wasn't perfect and didn't work that great, so I've kind of for right now gone back to just my carry around jug, but I do want to put that back in and get it plumbed up at some point. And now, after pushing the margins of summer a little bit, I kind of feel like I might want to put a little diesel heater in here and be able to blow some more warm air up into the tent. But other than that, this thing has not changed for years, and we've covered some miles in this and camped in all kinds of places, from up in the Montana region to all over southern Utah and places in between. Well, I've hiked up here to the top of this sandstone hill that was behind me, and I'm trying to keep the microphone out of the wind a little bit, but it's absolutely beautiful up here. I have 360-degree views, and from where I'm sitting right now, I cannot see the road. But if I stand up, I can see a little bit of the road going out to the entranceway and a little bit of the road going back the other way. There have not been any vehicles on it for a while. There's hardly any traffic out here. I mean, every once in a while a car goes by, but that's about it. So if you're wondering why I hiked up here on top of this thing, it was first of all to keep the blood pumping through the old veins. That's one part of it. I got to keep hiking. But the other part is, this is a little bit silly, but I started another YouTube channel and it's all RC cars. So I got into RC crawling, rock crawling with Sam's boyfriend Dylan. They got me a little Defender 110 for Christmas, and now he and I both kind of gone crazy. He's a filmmaker, so we've been getting down low and doing this scale filming of these things, crawling, you know, little rocks, but for a 1/18 scale car, it's a big rock. So it's kind of like what Randy and I did with our four-wheeling, only smaller and cheaper by order of magnitude. So anyway, I came up here and filmed a bunch of stuff with the little cars, and I'll put that on the other YouTube channel because I knew I didn't want to mix it in with the boat stuff here. But for now, it's time to pack everything up. All my batteries are dead, and head us back down and out of here. Okay, see, I told you there's this big draw down there, and we are about to go down in it and follow that road all the way out to the other end. And it gets better. This is just the beginning of it. So I'll show you. I'll stick this thing out the window as we go through part of it. Brought you up to the top of the switchbacks on the Burt Trail here. You can see a vehicle way down there, and I'm parked up here. And at some point in time, someone decided, yeah, we can put a road down through there. You can see it coming out at the bottom. In order to get to the bottom, we got half a dozen switchbacks.